Boom! Welcome to On Texas Football. Longhorns land a big commitment out of the transfer portal. Andrew Mukuba, originally from Austin's LBJ, but last 3 years has been a starter at Clemson, including a freshman All-American campaign. Last year, he had 42 tackles for the Tigers as a starting nickelback. CJ, you followed, I'm with CJ Vogel. CJ, you followed Mukuba's recruitment through his high school years. You were in Austin. He was at LBJ High School. You know him as well as anybody. Tell Texas fans a little about what they're getting and who they're getting with Andrew Mukuba.
Yeah, Mukuba's a fun one. He's a guy that I expect to, walk into a starting spot next year. Obviously, has some skin on the wall already with the freshman All-American title behind his name as well. I love Mukuba as a prospect. I love him coming out of high school at LBJ. He was a guy that really came down to Texas and Clemson when it all, came down to it. Committing to the school at the time that had, kind of a winning history, really won out there with what Dabo was doing at Clemson at the time was really kind of a no-brainer. And obviously where things went with Tom Herman at the end of his campaign here, that really was the deciding factor for Mukuba. But now, he's back in the burnt orange. It's no more of that Clemson orange. So it's exciting for Texas. I think Mukuba, when you look at what he brings to the table, he's a twitchy guy. He's a little bit more twitchy than what Texas saw this year at the safety position. I think that's very much what Texas needs back deep. I don't think Texas has a lot of speed right now in that secondary. We've seen it kind of time and time again, getting beat deep, getting beat on the crossers. It's going to be a little bit different with Mukuba back there because I do think the speed and the athleticism is something that could be, just a little bit lacking right now in that room. So this is, an improvement athleticism-wise and something that is very welcomed.
Yeah, no, look, Steve Sarkisian said it, and I just talking to people, they're looking for specific pieces, and upgrading in speed in the secondary is part of that. Obviously, they're recruiting him as a nickel, which is a little bit different than being back deep. But still, Jahdae Barron is a big role, big shoes to fill. Definitely. And something you said on Saturday night with me, you were talking about how Mukuba and Jahdae Barron actually worked with the same trainer coming out of high school. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The two of them trained with BAM Performance down here in Austin. And on his official visit, you can credit Jahdae Barron for being a big piece of what really got the ball moving in this direction. Obviously, there was some momentum to begin with, but Barron was instrumental in terms of, locking the doors and saying goodnight to this recruitment because he did a big part there.
Gotcha. So you're basically saying this is a guy that's a versatile defensive back. It makes sense. He's played 1 year of safety, 2 years of nickel, and they need athleticism now back there as well as speed. Is he a 4.55 guy? Is he a 4.4 guy? Give us a little more sense about who he is as a player.
Yeah, I would say, mid 4.5s is probably what you're looking at. I don't necessarily think he's a guy that's going to be in contention for the fastest on the team, but I do think there is, an argument for it to be made where he could be in the conversation for the springiest. I think I mentioned that earlier.
Springiest, so the most athletic kind of.
Yeah, when you watch him jump and kind of take some weird, leaps, if you will, from off-platform jumping and ball contests, it's impressive. The kid flies.
Okay, gotcha. So that's – and obviously a 3-year starter, you're talking about replacing a guy with a lot of experience with a guy potentially with a lot of experience. What are your thoughts on what Steve Sarkisian's done with this recruiting class and in the portal thus far? Obviously they've lost more guys in the portal. That's natural. That's right. What happens. You bring more high school guys in because of that. But overall, adding someone like Mukuba to this class is a ready-made player, right? And adding that ready-made player to an elite recruiting class is kind of just one more, I don't even know how to say it, just another feather in your cap almost.
No, 100%. I think what we're seeing with Steve Sarkisian is a very targeted attack in the portal. And that could be said for each year that the portal's really been booming like this. So whether it be A.D. Mitchell coming in or getting Gavin Holmes to fit really a depth piece that can contribute with experience on the outside. Everything that we've seen so far from Steve Sarkisian and his staff is calculated. And I think this is exactly what you want to see with, the pending departure of Jahdae Barron to the NFL. That's going to be a spot which is very important. Let's not forget, that star nickel spot is a very important piece on the field. And we saw just how, vital it was for Jahdae Barron in a number of instances this year to come up and make big plays. That's exactly what you're going to be replacing him with Andrew Mukuba, a guy that has skins on the wall, a guy that has all the experience that you've seen with Clemson's defense the last 3 years, and not afraid to make a big play.
You mentioned that targeted attack in the portal. I just wrote down 2 names: Ryan Sanborn, the punter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And then even Trill Carter.
Oh, yeah.
They knew to get the best out of Sweat and Murphy and get those 35, 40 snaps of games. They needed somebody else to come in and plug the run. And even though he didn't start off because he was a little injured early, I mean, he played a key role in the team as the season wore on. So it's very, very interesting overall. Texas is poised to be a top, whatever class you want to call this. Right. But I'm interested in the portal from here. What other positions do you think Texas needs? I mean, outside of wide receiver, obviously, and now at nickelback, do they need another defensive back? Do they need a tight end potentially? Or is that they're waiting on JT Sanders to make an announcement? I mean, where else do you see Texas since them going in the portal right now, CJ?
Yeah, I think tight end is an interesting spot, just in the sense that position can be a huge game changer. And when you have a guy like Jatavian Sanders that can stretch the field vertically, can be a threat in the middle, it opens up so much more. And we've seen it time and time again this year, whether it be the Alabama game, the Baylor game, even in the Big 12 championship game. His presence alone opens up everything. And a healthy JT Sanders makes a big difference. His departure, whether it comes this year right after the bowl game or not, is going to be a void that Texas will look to fill. And, Gunnar Helm is in that kind of trajectory right now, but he's not the athlete that JT is. And I think if you can continue to improve that athleticism on the spot and continue to give your quarterbacks weapons, it's only going to help the offense long term.
And Sark loves to run 12 personnel.
Oh, 100%.
And so they've got to have 2 tight ends. And I don't know if Juan Davis is ready or that size that they want. And Spencer Shannon may not be quite there yet physically, given that he's just only been on camp. I mean, literally only been on campus, 6-9 months now. So you got to think of it that way. I would add this also, CJ. I want you to give people a sense for who Jamal Finner is, because that's a name that we've used in this recruitment of Andrew Mukuba. He is the director of high school relations for the University of Texas, but he used to be the Austin LBJ coach. You've been around Finner and know him a little bit. Give people a sense for his relationship with Mukuba here, because I think that's certainly playing a role, right?
No, 100%. I mean, Finner's great. He's a guy that I always loved going out to the Austin LBJ to see him and his team, whether it be for practices or a game on Friday nights. That's a guy who is truly a guy that players, get close to. They attract to him. They love being around him. He's a guy that players love to play for and play with, And I do think the minute that Andrew Mukuba entered the portal, it was just a matter of time before the two sides reconnected. Sorry. And so that's something that I think really dated back to Mukuba's time at LBJ. Is, I think there's a certain match that they liked at the time. Obviously, they had great success, and LBJ turned into a team that was competing for state championships, year on year again at the time. So perfect fit, great time to reunite, obviously coming off of a top 4 finish in the college football playoffs. So it's a perfect fit.
All right. That's CJ Vogel. CJ, here's what we do every time a guy commits. I always throw up the hook 'em. Andrew Mukuba, hook 'em. Longhorns, grab another one. This is a big one for Texas. For CJ Vogel, I'm Bobby Burton. Andrew Mukuba, congratulations, young man. Hook 'em.
Yes, sir.